Hello again, you're watching Kay Burley at Breakfast. In Japan, sumo wrestling is the national sport, but on a professional level, it's men only. Women aren't even allowed to stand inside the wrestling ring. So when a filmmaker, I should say, Matt Kay, decided to follow a female sumo wrestler, part of the brief was to see if she could bring about change. Now the documentary has been longlisted for an Oscar. Impressive. And Matt, the director of Little Miss Sumo, is here. Hiya, you must be so pleased.
Hi there, Kay. Yes, delighted. It's had a great reception, and it's been an amazing ride since we first premiered.
It's in the final 10?
So it's longlisted. No, so that's a few more.
Oh,
but then
okay.
the shortlist will be 10.
Okay.
So we find out about that soon. So fingers crossed.
Fantastic. Absolutely, fingers crossed for you. Beginning of next month, I think.
Yes.
Tell me about the film. How did it come about?
Well, it's actually funny. Little Miss Sumo. It came about. I was actually travelling backpacking in Japan. And I was always a fan of sumo wrestling, and I knew about the rule, but when I got to Japan, I realised lots of people didn't, and it seemed like it was slightly more of a controversial aspect, so lots of Japanese people couldn't then focus on the issue. And so when I was over there, being a curious filmmaker, I just contacted a few female sumo wrestlers and was lucky enough to meet Hiyori.
Okay, tell us more.
So Hiyori, she was in her first year at university then, and she has been wrestling since she was 6 years old, so she's allowed to compete at an amateur level. But then, when after university, when the men graduate, they go on to become professional wrestlers, and the women then retire. So there's no kind of outlet. So it seemed kind of a very, very clear glass ceiling. And I guess
They can't even touch the ring, can they?
no, they're said to contaminate the sacred space, and so unfortunately they're not even allowed to touch the ring at all.
So what happened when somebody needed CPR? Tell us that story.
Yes, so there was a mayor, and he collapsed as he was giving a welcoming speech in the ring, and two medics ran on to kind of help and resuscitate and give CPR. He was literally convulsing in the ring, and as they were doing this, the referee and over the tannoy system said no women are allowed, and so kind of mid giving CPR, they had to go off, and then a male medic then kind of came on and continued the CPR. And that was kind of, I'd already been filming then for 6 months, but that was kind of a moment in Japan when it was a topic of conversation and on shows like this in Japan, and it is all over the news. And so from then, I think it became more of in the public consciousness, and that's when people began to know, because lots of Japanese people didn't actually know about the rule itself.
And so how is that developing from then on? You know, what's happening now? Do you think there will be a time in the non-too-distant future when women will be able to compete?
Yeah, so it's interesting. It's linked towards tradition and heritage, and there's a great reverence and respect, often rightfully so, for tradition. So I think in Japan, because that's been the rule, lots of people believe it should stay the rule. Others are wanting change, and so I think I guess it's about 50-50 in terms of people for or against. Yeah. And so the tide is changing, and I feel with different things all over the world in terms of women's rights, it's starting to eventually, thankfully, be recognised and given the actual due importance it deserves in terms of issues and equality. And so, yeah, hopefully the tide will turn, and the film can hopefully play a small part in that.
And how do you get nominated for an Oscar? How does that work?
You have to win Oscar qualifying festival. So there's a good few of those around, and so the film's played at over 40 film festivals now, which is amazing. Great. And then we also had a cinema run on both coasts in the States, which you also need to get nominated.
And what do people do if they want to watch it at home? I mean, how can they watch it?
They can. So it's available on Netflix to watch. Okay. So it went up a few weeks ago, and so now, yeah, we're getting messages from all over the world, and Vietnam and Brazil, America, and Hiyori is getting lots of support, which is amazing.
And what reception has she received since she went back home? Is she a heroine, or is she a villain?
Yes, no, I think it's people are very proud of her in the sumo community, in her kind of immediate section. But then after that, in the wider society, she's getting recognised now, and I think that's great. And she's also selected for BBC 100 Women list, so one of the most influential women in the world now.
Wow,
which
that's
is
amazing.
Which is amazing.
And it has to be said, Matt, that we're very proud of you, because you used to work here, didn't you?
I did. It's funny being the other side of the camera. Not often in documentary,
yeah.
or in news.
You used to shoot and edit, and then you decided that you wanted to spread your wings and make movies.
Yes, I do love news still, and current affairs is very important, but I like to dive a little bit deeper into the issues now. And so it's a great foundation, and now kind of, yeah,
And you're
spreading
going to
the
make
wings.
feature films next. You're just showing off now.
Yeah, that's the next step. So this was a short, so it's 20 minutes, and then now still following Hiyori to make a feature documentary, which hopefully can go more into detail in terms of the history and heritage and show what's to come.
Fine.
And create and capture this history in the making,
Yeah,
hopefully.
well, when you go and pick up that flipping Oscar, remember about your mug.
I'll give you a shout out, Kay. Don't worry.
It's nice to see you. Thanks
Great
very
to
much.
see
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you taking
it.
the time.
Cheers.
Thank you. You're watching Kay Burley at breakfast. Time for a quick look at the weather for you now with Isabel.